So the new and final trailer for Avengers Endgame dropped recently, and it's given us more hints as to how things might go down in Endgame and in taking on Thanos. Such a poignant trailer, and we noticed that they utilized the black and white palette maybe to portray the sense of nostalgia, as they start off with a voiceover and footage from the iconic Marvel movie that began this unforgettable journey, Iron Man. He even says in his voiceover, "God, it seems like 1,000 years ago," and it does, and we assume he's addressing Pepper. Maybe he's recording, and maybe this is the same recording he seems to be leaving her in the first trailer that we saw. However, there may be another reason why they're showing us old footage of the older movies, and it probably has nothing to do with nostalgia, well, maybe a little bit, but it probably has something to do with going back in time, and that could also be a hint left by what Tony says in his voiceover, by it seeming like it was 1,000 years ago. It may be a hint of them just going back in time. So again, here are the implications of time travel, and we were having a discussion very recently where someone brought up the fact that Tony has never gotten his hands on Hank Pym's technology. Apparently, Hank Pym and Tony Stark's father were either enemies or opponents, and Hank Pym even said that his technology would never land in Stark hands unless he was dead. He's dead now. And with the new Ant-Man, the only one alive, especially after having seen him show up to the Avengers with that van holding the mini version of the entrance to the quantum realm, there'll be a way for Iron Man to get his hands on it. So this could be a key in the time travel, and would explain why we see Tony, along with everyone else, except Bruce Banner for some reason, and some others, donning these weird spacesuits, or as I call them, the quantum realm suits. Also, here's another hint. Listen to the music for the logo. The instrumental circles back to the first note, or one of the higher notes, and then starts with a sharp hit, then a crescendo kind of mimics going back in time or going in reverse. Of course, the theme song is not being played in reverse, but if you listen carefully, it almost sounds as though it's being reconstructed with a punch added to it for finality, which is what the movie represents. Also, notice how the title Endgame starts off in broken pieces, which then come back together again? This can symbolize everything being fixed. This can also symbolize the reversal of time, such as a glass cup falling, and if you play the footage backwards, it looks as though the glass shards are building the glass, or reconstructing the glass. Then it's like it never happened. The construction of the title could also symbolize all the broken heroes that are lost after this horrible ordeal having happened, reassembling to form or reform the Avengers. The slight crescendo has a triumphant sound to it, as the heroes have gone back in time and now have fixed things and are victorious. Tony makes mention pulling off one last surprise, and we're left wondering what the hell that could be. So, one thing that we do know after having seen this trailer is that Tony obviously gets saved, because we see him later on with the rest of the crew as though he's preparing for time travel, and there's Nebula alongside him too. So, they can only be going to one place, and it seems as though it could be the quantum realm, because obviously Scott Lang is there with them, and he showed up in the first trailer with that van, the brown one, with the miniature quantum machine that he got stuck in initially. Most people think it's Danvers that will save Tony, and if that's possible, I don't really see that happening. It is possible, because the last time we see the broad, she's in space leading the Skrull away, so on her way back to answer Nick Fury's pager, she could have run into Iron Man, but let's not put it past Tony Stark to find his own way out of the issue, as he often does, because I don't really see someone coming to Tony Stark's rescue. He made his own weaponized suit out of junk in a cave while held captive, so I think he's got this, and that would be a good way to send him off as well, and to end this in him being in a situation like this where he's captive in space by the spaceship, and without food, and oxygen is running out, and he finds a way to beat the odds once again. I think it's a good throwback to the original movie that started all of this. Next up, the trailer focuses on Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. Every hero seemingly gets a flashback of their earlier movie, movies or their roles in the earlier films. By the way, Captain America is known as the first Avenger due to his character's existence being known way before that of Iron Man and the other Avengers. He wasn't the first to officially join the Avengers, but he existed in print and avenged first. Technically, our boy was avenging acts against humanity during World War II, way before the Avengers Initiative. And based on the original Avengers from the comics, it was Wasp who came up with the name Avengers, but we're getting off topic here. Anyway, we see some old footage from Captain America movie, or from the Captain America movie, of what seems to be him attending a funeral for Peggy Carter, who we believe is Iron Man's mom. Now remember, she died during Civil War, and Captain America really loved her. Her voice being heard and her being featured probably alludes to Captain America getting to see her again in his youth. We know that Chris Evans' contract is ending, so this would be an interesting way for them to write out Captain America with him being able to have a happy ending, and he gets to be with the woman that he loves, even if it's for one last time. With this being the final movie, everybody has to have a big send-off and a monumental way to exit. We then see Hawkeye. For some reason, it always looks like Hawkeye's hurting, like he's in a lot of pain. But anyways, we see him teaching this girl, maybe his daughter, and this was clearly in the past because he looks de-aged or looks very young. And then we see the next scene cut to him as his vigilante form, or vigilante mode, or Ronin, looking very pained and lost. So I'm guessing he lost his family in the snap. So, alternatively, this could be a setup for Kate Bishop, a character who later takes up the mantle of being Hawkeye after Clint died. However, they're not related in the comic, or at least I don't believe so. It makes more sense that this was his daughter in the movie because he does look very depressed. They could mix it up and just make the next Hawkeye his daughter. Then we hear the voiceover of them starting over, and we see Hawkeye and Black Widow hold hands, and maybe this is Black Widow trying to help him get out of the stupor, or maybe them hooking up. The trailer seems to be heavily focusing on what everyone has lost. I mean, the whole point of the story is that them being the Avengers is for them to ultimately avenge. They all have a reason behind why they're doing what they're doing. Thor lost his home and his father, and he lost his brother Loki very horribly, and at the hands of Thanos, or should I say, in the very hands of Thanos. The trailer sadly shows snippets from Infinity War of everyone turning into ash, and honestly, Thor is the one I think has the biggest blow. Not only does he have to deal with everyone he's lost, but he also has to deal with the guilt that I'm sure he's carrying over not killing Thanos when he had the chance. He wanted to look Thanos in the eyes as he was dying, but by doing that, he allowed Thanos to have the chance to kill half of all life. Can you imagine Thor hearing for the rest of his life, "You should have gone for the head"? This poor guy is carrying so much guilt, and I can't imagine how he feels. I mean, people can blame Star-Lord that he was the onset of what happened because he punched Thanos and stopped the process of them getting the Infinity Gauntlet, but I think Thor is the one who ultimately would feel the worst because it's like they were given a second chance after that, and then Thor blew it just simply by not going for the head.
I keep telling everybody they should move on. Some do. Not us.
Moving on, we see Black Widow, Steve Rogers, and Bruce Banner. And what stuck out to me was was Black Widow's hair. She's growing out her hair dye. In the movie, Black Widow's hair is naturally red. As a disguise, she changes into blonde, as we see in Avengers Infinity War. Movies often do this to show the passage of time. In Iron Man 2, she showed up with long red hair, and that movie was set in 2011. The next movie she shows up in is Avengers, where she cut her hair to jawbone length. Avengers was set in 2012, I believe. Then she was in Winter Soldier, which was set in 2014. This makes sense because look at her hair. She visibly has about 1 to 2 years of hair growth, and she cut the ends off, which means her hair was probably a bit longer, much longer, if she had 2 or more years of hair growth. In Ultron, the year after, 2015, she cuts it again very short, jawbone length. In 2016, Civil War, her hair is long, and that can pass for a year of hair growth. Either that or she has extensions. Then we once again see her with a bob cut and blonde hair. She could have dyed her hair red so that her hair growing out would look more natural, but I think they made a point to show her red hair growing out of to her blonde, or growing out her blonde, to showcase the passage of time from the events of Infinity War to the events of Endgame. So we have an idea of which scenes are taking place based on how Black Widow's hair looks, or even Steve Rogers being clean shaven. Right now, the guess is Endgame takes place 5 years after the events of Infinity War. They also mentioned that other people have moved on, but they haven't moved on, so when people talk about moving on, you have to guess that it's quite some time that's passed. And again, remember, Black Widow's hair is now mostly red. We can't even really depend on Steve Rogers, because this looks like it takes place way after the events of Infinity War. Like, they're actually talking about doing something now, and he probably at this point decided to shave because now he wants to be Captain America again for good. So I don't think that, I take it back. Maybe looking at his beard and his hair growth is not the best determination of how much time has gone. Maybe it's just Black Widow's hair. Next up, we see a brief moment of Scott Lang clearly out of the quantum realm and looking at the missing posters, and he looks to have an expression of wonder and shock. Can you imagine having gotten out of the quantum realm not realizing that half of Earth's population is now missing, like the freaking rapture? We then witness Hawkeye and Black Widow again, and of course Black Widow still has that weird blonde-red combination hair. They both look way too sad. So clearly they haven't fixed things, obviously, but this is probably where they're getting ready to do things. She probably went out to go find him when he was on his vigilante missions, and now that they have reunited, they decided that they're going to fix things and make things right, that there's a chance that he could get his family again. We see this amazing scene of Hawkeye fleeing from an explosion in what looks to be an underground tunnel looking thing. Maybe that's an explosion that he caused. Then we get a badass shot of Rocket and War Machine, who looks to be in a much bigger suit. Now, look at Hawkeye's haircut. I don't know why everyone is making fun of his haircut. They all have these memes going around about the snap having worked better than expected because even half of Hawkeye's hair snapped out of existence. Jesus, you people are savage. I mean, I could be too, but still. I mean, it works for him though. Honestly, I like the look. We then cut to Scott Lang having a look of consternation on his face. But if you're quick enough, you notice that with the scene, right before it flips to another scene, there's something that he's looking at that's lighting up in front of him. Look at this area on his chest. Look at the reflection of something that looks to be either the lights from the quantum realm or a huge explosion. Did you see it? So it looks like he's looking at something that's either a portal, but it's lighting up. Either something is opening up in front of him, like a portal, maybe the quantum realm, or maybe there's an explosion or something horrible ready to happen that just goes off. But it's obviously not directly in front of him, because I would imagine that he'd be freaking out. And maybe this is the prelude to the scene we witness later on in the trailer with him running away from all this chaos that probably started in this room, because we see books and what looks to be like class items around, and we see pencils and aux cable. So it looks as though that scene is probably something that happens after this scene. Then we see Thor with Stormbreaker ready for action, and what is more is we can be confident that this time Thor will aim for the head. We also see Gamora's sister Nebula, who at first glance looks like she's on Titan, but it looks too dark, and I'm pretty sure this is not Titan. It looks also like a ship crash there. She looks like she's about to fight somebody. She could be fighting alone, or this could be a clip just showing you just her angle, but she's actually alongside everybody else, but you can't see them in the shot, and they're all ready to fight someone else. I have no idea where she is, but what's clear is that she's pissed off and ready to go all in. She looks pissed. Man, I love Scarlett Johansson. So everybody says whatever it takes, which is heavily ominous because you know that somebody's going to die or get sacrificed. And it's interesting because that was the ideology Thanos lived under, which led to the unfortunate events of Infinity War. Skip all the way past an action to the assembled Avengers, minus Hulk and Banner, and Rocket, and somebody else. One thing's for sure is that Tony and Nebula are here. So it's obvious that they get saved. Kind of a spoiler, but we kind of already knew this. Notice they're all dressed in these white suits that I call the quantum realm suits. Earlier I said that Iron Man did not have the technology, or that the Starks didn't have the technology of Hank Pym, so now that we have Iron Man and all of his genius paired with Hank Pym's quantum realm technology, oh, it's gonna get real. I'm gonna be so excited to see when Iron Man actually comes face to face with the stuff and he's like, oh my god, like, you know how smart Iron Man is, and with this technology, and with how smart he already is, it's just going to be so amazing. I think this is going to open up a whole bunch of possibilities for technology, not only for the Iron Man suit, but for traveling as well, which we see here. Speaking of which, this probably marks moments before they go back in time via the quantum realm or time vortex or however they're going to do it. I don't know why there's some people missing, but the toys for the characters that we don't see here have these suits as well, so maybe they're not shown in the shot. I don't know. At the end of the trailer, we see Black Widow and Thor meeting Danvers. Ugh, she's my least favorite character, but there she is with all her smugness. They've been coy with the trailers not showing too much, and I love it. Even though I'm not going to pretend to notice that they added this in, because they could have left her meeting them as a surprise, because we know it's going to happen, but it's probably something that people want to see happen. But I feel like they added this in this trailer because it's very emotional. It's Endgame, and they're like, you know what? Let's do stuff to further help Captain Marvel's movie. Because let's not act like everyone hasn't been bending over backwards to make sure they force this movie down everyone's throats. I know how you feel. I'm actually going to make it a point to rewatch the Avengers movies because